Well, the clock is inching closer to zero as we get ready to go from 0 to 200 miles per hour at the world's most famous racetrack. This is Countdown to Daytona. I'm Carla Metz alongside Gabe McDonald. And yes, he is back once again, America's crew chief, Larry McReynolds. Absolutely.
We're here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, America's home for racing. But soon, we're going to be hopping in the jet heading south to the international home of racing. Larry, Daytona, a much different beast than what these drivers are used to seeing.
Well, it is, but it's a race where everybody feels like we got a shot to win this thing. It's the start of a new season. We got a clean sheet of paper. We got a lot of new faces and new places. And when you go down there and win this thing, just think about this. Not only have you won the biggest race of the year, you can punch your ticket to the 2025 playoffs very early in the season.
Absolutely. No better way to start the season. And we got everything to get you ready for the Daytona 500 and the season as a whole, including a one-on-one with the reigning Cup Series champion, now a three-time champ, Mr. Joey Logano.
Yeah, and let's talk more about the Daytona 500 right now. And this is the only sport where the biggest event comes first on the calendar. Daytona International Speedway is just footsteps away from the beach, and just like a wave crashing, any driver's dreams can be swept away. That's how volatile the racing gets here. It's not really uncommon to see cars go 3, sometimes even 4 wide, all trying to get to the edge of this super speedway. Anyone can win a race on any given weekend, but only a few can call themselves a Daytona 500.
The Daytona 500 is the pinnacle of our sport. It's the biggest race of the year, and you worked your whole life to get to that moment. So it's kind of like a sense of relief. I just love to enjoy the moment the whole week of the Daytona 500 because it's a week like no other in our sport.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure going to Daytona. You want to get your season kicked off the right way. Every driver and person on the teams know what it's for. You know why you go down to Daytona, and you know what this race means. But also it's kind of relief, like, all right, the season's getting going. If you have changes on your team, how are everyone going to fit in, and kind of just start working together again.
And let's do Daytona by the numbers. This 2.5-mile track will have at least 40 cars racing for immortality. 7 drivers in the lineup for this year's list have a Daytona 500 ring, which is fitting because 7 is also the number of times that the King, Richard Petty, has won the great American race, more than anybody to ever do it. Denny Hamlin has the most Daytona 500 victories of the active drivers with 3 on his mantle. The longest race, though, 2 years ago, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won in double overtime, a record 212 laps. And Larry, you've won this race not once, but twice as a crew chief. No one knows this track and this race better than you.
Which means you know to expect the unexpected in this. I think the last 10 Daytona 500s, there's been about 25 cars per race involved in some kind of wreck, and so it is very unpredictable.
My philosophy all those years as a crew chief and now 25 years as a broadcaster, you can go down there, you can have the fastest car, you can have flawless pit stops, the best strategy, you can have everything going your way. We're going to go 200 laps, 500 miles. You're probably not going to know the outcome of your day till they come off turn 4 with a checkered flag waving, entering the tri-oval. And it may not be a move that your driver makes. It may be a move that another driver makes that goes bad. You just don't know. We're going to race all those laps, all those miles, but it's going to come down probably to the final corner of the final lap.
And with super speedway racing comes a lot of pit strategy. Sometimes the yellows, they come early, they come often. Sometimes for drivers, like you mentioned, they come at the worst times. How do you see this, kind of playing out? How are these guys going to have to navigate that?
It's going to be all about the manufacturers. That's what we're seeing. You're going to see Toyotas working with Toyotas, Chevrolets with Chevrolets, and the Fords with Fords. And if they get lined up, you may run just as far as you can if you're laying down those good lap times. But the last thing you want to do is be forced to pit by yourself, because if you do, you're going to be a sitting duck out there. You'll see the manufacturers maybe splitting the stages in half. You'll maybe see them short pitting to be able to make it to the end of the stage, or you may see them run long. It all depends on how you're organized and how fast your lap times are.
Now, when all these guys get ready to hit the track in Daytona, they also have to get ready to navigate a season's worth of new rules. Probably the biggest one, the new damaged vehicle policy. Cars that are towed to the garage can now come back out. You also have updates to the practice and qualifying times, plus a new update on the waiver rule as well, which we saw play out here at Charlotte last year. Larry, when you look at these new rules, what's good and what's bad about these going into the season?
Yeah, I've had about 3 or 4 weeks to process, and I like everything that they've done here. The playoff waiver, it certainly goes back to Kyle Larson, the Coke 600, the Indy 500. Honestly, I don't think that will ever even come up again. I think that was a one and done deal. I like the fact that most racetracks were going to 1 round of qualifying. They're getting a little more practice, not a lot, but I go back to my days as a crew chief. I could have just got one more run, I would have been happy. But the DVP, the damaged vehicle policy, you still have 7 minutes on pit road to repair your car, get back on a racetrack to minimum speed. But I think we have found the middle ground. I like the fact that a car that has minor damage, if it has to be towed to the garage area, you can make repairs. I go back to Ryan Blaney and the 12 team at Watkins Glen. I go back to Josh Berry at Kansas. The guy was out of the race because he had flat tires because he got towed to the garage area. So I like the fact now that they're giving these teams the ability to repair their cars, get back in the race. I think they have found that middle ground right there, but I will say this, they're going to be a stickler. You're going to get about 3 laps once you've made repairs to get back to minimum speed. If not, you'll be out of the race.
Yeah, I love that it puts the control back in the race team's hands. It is sure shaping up to be a wild 2025 season, though, and that all starts at the Great American Race. And speaking of, we've got a guy that's won it all standing by right now.
Thinking about points, they're not thinking about solid finishes, they're thinking about, this is my one chance this year to put your name on the Harley J. Earl Trophy, right? To put your name in the record books as a Daytona 500 champion.
It's been 10 years since Logano claimed his first Harley J. Earl Trophy. Can he add another to start the season as the reigning defending champ?
And normally a two-man race wouldn't get too many people excited, but when it's two of NASCAR's most exciting rookies, anything goes. We'll explain what we mean coming up next.
And Larry, you've managed pit crews before. Do you think Gabe has what it takes to make it big on Sundays?
I like the size. We may have something we can work with. We'll just have to see.
Hey, all I need is an opportunity, but fortunately I got it. I did get a team to work with me, and I'll take you to work coming up next on the Countdown to Daytona. We got a taste of it during the playoffs, but this year, the full Xfinity Series season can be seen on the CW. Starting with the prelude to the Daytona 500, that's the United Rentals 300 in Daytona on Saturday, February 15th. We got a chance to talk to every driver in the field earlier this month about how big this new partnership is going to be, not only to the drivers, but to the sport as well.
I think there's going to be some really cool changes being made for this upcoming season, especially with the CW. Having us on the same platform for the entire year, I think goes a long way, especially for, you know, I have friends and family all the time. They're like, oh, you're racing today? Like, where's it at? You know, so I think it's going to be a lot easier for everyone once they find the CW and they know that it's home.
The Xfinity Series is really that kind of bridge from old school racing to new school racing. And it's exciting to have that story told on such a big stage.
When it comes to the Cup Series Rookie of the Year race, it's a two-man show, both of whom are graduates of the Xfinity Series. Trackhouse Racing Shane Van Gisbergen and 2311's Riley Herbst, both highly coveted prospects and both in better equipment now than they've ever driven before. As many of you know, SVG is a road course ace, winning his first ever Cup Series start in the debut of the Chicago Street Race in 2023. SVG then used 2024 in the Xfinity Series to prepare himself for better results on oval tracks in Cup. Riley, on the other hand, has that down already. 2 wins last year in Xfinity, including the championship race in Phoenix. These two are ready to duke it out for the highly prestigious award this year.
I think we have a lot of goals. I think a lot of them have been kept in-house, right, on the competition side. But I think Rookie of the Year is obviously on the top of the list. But it's going to be a lot of hard work this year, and we know that. But I love hard work, and I've always kind of gone to the harder choice for sure. So I'm excited about how we can adapt and how we can continue to grow all year long, because like this is the Cup Series. This is the hardest racing in America. These are the best stock car drivers in America, around the world.
Back here with America's crew chief, Larry McReynolds. Larry, these two drivers have had completely different paths to get to this point. SVG, an older rookie, and then you have Riley Herbst. What stands out about these two drivers, and what do you see maybe some of the advantages one having over the other, given the equipment that they have now?
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of an age gap. And of course, you've got Riley from Las Vegas, you've got Shane from New Zealand. But I look at the organizations, there's a lot of distinct similarities between Trackhouse Racing and 2311. They both started as single car teams in 2021. They went to 2 cars in 22. And here they're adding a 3rd team in 2025. And with rookies, Riley has certainly shown that he runs well on super speedways. He runs well on the intermediates. We've talked about Shane on the road courses. But I always warn people about expectations when it comes to a rookie in the top series of NASCAR, the Cup Series, because the longest distance between 2 points is the distance between the Xfinity Series garage and the Cup Series garage. Do not set expectations. Go out there and try to run all the laps. That's exactly what Carson Hocevar did last year, winning the Rookie of the Year. Get through the first part of the season and kind of see then where you stack up.
Definitely two guys everybody's excited to see. Now we're going to send it down to Carla, who has more with somebody who's a little bit more seasoned and is fresh off a championship as well.
That's right, guys. Down here trackside right now, and at 34 years old, he's one of the most decorated drivers of all time. A 3-time Cup Series champion, a Daytona 500 champion, and owner of 36 Cup Series wins. Joey Logano has done a little bit of everything, and after talking with the defending champion earlier, he says he's not done yet. We talked to you after you won the championship in Phoenix, but after having an off season, kind of digesting that you are a 3-time champ, how was it and what's it feel like right now?
Well, I mean, it's great, but like right now, it feels like the scoreboard's back to 0, right? It's over. The moment of winning was amazing, and getting to go visit everybody, their headquarters, and everybody back when you get home was really fun. But like really, honestly, once Christmas comes around, you start to realize like, okay, that season was great. It's over though. Got to keep moving.
Kind of based off of last year and the changes that Ford had and Toyota also had, is there one manufacturer that maybe has a leg up going into Daytona? Do you expect one to be stronger on that track?
Yeah, it seems like this is kind of one of the years where there's the least amount of changes that we've seen from a car perspective, rules perspective, like all those things, very minor tweaks that, you know, really I don't think will show up much on the racetrack. So it's really about what you gained over the off season, right? You know, and you don't know until you get there, to be honest with you. You don't know what gains people made from engines and body wise and those type of things. Everyone's always working to improve, right? So you know, who improved the most over that amount of time, we'll just have to see when we get down there. But our speedway program's always been really solid, especially with this next gen car. It's been really good. Cars handle good. They got a lot of speed. You know, we'd like to back up the Daytona 500 pole we got last year's, and that would be really cool to do again. But you know, ultimately it's about winning that race, right? The Great American Race is, you know, one shot a year. It means more than all the rest of the races. Like, it's really a big deal for everybody to get a good start there.
What is your approach every year that you go into this race, and does it change at all from year to year?
Minor tweaks. You know, the approach is still the same. You know, the Great American Race, everybody's going for the win. They're not thinking about points. They're not thinking about solid finishes. They're thinking about, this is my one chance this year to put your name on the Harley J. Earl Trophy, right? To put your name in the record books as a Daytona 500 champion. And the moves that drivers are willing to make is a lot different than what it's like when you get to Talladega or when you get to Atlanta the week after. The blocks are aggressive, the pushes are aggressive, and we wreck more, right? Like, it's gonna happen. So you just, you gotta position yourself in the front to be, you know, in the mix of that. If you get caught in the wreck, you get caught up in the wreck, but you can't just sit around and hope it falls into your hand, into your lap. Like, I don't think that's the right way of doing it.
And you're an aggressive driver to begin with. So in the 500, do you have more leniency for what other drivers are going to be doing to you on the track, and like what you let go and what you don't let go?
No.
No,
that part doesn't change.
Okay. Good clarification.
It's just what I'm willing to do.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll let you get back to it, getting ready for the Daytona 500. Joey Logano, good luck this season, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
NASCAR is a team sport, and don't let anyone tell you different. The pit crews are actually filled with former football talent, and as a former fullback myself, I had the chance to take a crack at it thanks to the folks at RFK. We'll have that story coming up.
And get ready for change. From Mexico to a reshuffling in the playoffs, NASCAR has revamped their schedule for 2025. We'll highlight some of the biggest changes when Countdown to Daytona continues. Has done it again. The offseason brought the most radical change in the schedule that we've ever seen. And the biggest switch, the implications of an in-season tournament, a 5-week, 32-car tournament that will crown one winner and an extra $1 million in their pocket. You're going to get to see that in June. Also in June, NASCAR returns to Mexico City for a road race at the Autodromos Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. Richmond Raceway is going from hosting 2 races to just 1 late in the season, and playoff tracks, those are getting switched up as well. We'll still race for a title in Phoenix, but Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Homestead Miami are coming out of the playoffs. Gateway, New Hampshire, and Darlington will replace them. Also added for the Xfinity Series, a return to a crowd favorite, Rockingham Speedway. Let's go ahead and bring in America's crew chief, Larry McReynolds, and let's go ahead and talk about these pit crew teams. Because back in the day, Larry, it used to be kind of the regular old Joes that would work on the cars. They would also be the pit crew members on pit road, but nowadays that looks totally different. You have experience in this, so what makes for a good pit crew member? Yeah, people ask me all the time about changes in NASCAR and the evolution of a pit crew member. It is dramatic because, yeah, we used to hire the best fabricator, the best mechanic we could. Let's take him out back and see if he can change a tire or jack a car. These guys are athletes. They played college football. They played professional sports. And I think a couple of things, hand-eye coordination, especially those tire changers. I think that's so important. But I think being able to adjust on the fly, because no 2 pit stops are the same. That driver never stops the same place. You may be making repairs. It may be 2 tires, 4 tires. The crew chief may be calling for adjustments. You have to be flexible and be able to adjust. Yeah, it certainly come a long way, and we got to send it out to Gabe McDonald, who finds himself in the pits right now, and you got a first-hand experience of this, Gabe.
Thanks, Carla. The evolution of pit crew members has been well documented over the years as the sport continues to grow. Some of the guys working in these pit stalls each and every Sunday might have played for your favorite college or NFL team once upon a time. As a former Division I athlete myself, you know I had to get an inside look, and I got the chance to do that thanks to the guys at RFK Racing. Speed and precision, the 2 most important elements of any NASCAR pit stop.
You're basically in attack mode from the time the car stops to the time the car drops.
Having that attack mindset is something Nicholas Patterson knows all too well. Entering his 8th season at RFK, Patterson joined the team after playing both football and baseball at Winston-Salem State. A decision to live a new lifestyle that has paid off in the long run.
Coming out of college sports, you want to be able to continue the competitive side of things, and you try to find that and find a way to plug into that, and this was just fortunately a way for me to plug in immediately. And the thrill that you get when the car is coming down pit road is basically just like game day. It's go time.
With the 2025 NASCAR season quickly approaching, Patterson and the pit crew for Chris Buescher in the 17 are hard at work getting down the technique and timing to help the team have even more success this year.
Hey, good job on that. You know, the hardest thing about it is just being as fast as you can possibly be consistently. You know, we're trying to perform on the razor's edge all the time. We're trying to chase the tenths and hundredths, like I was saying, and to do that, you're just right there on the edge of being too fast and out of control, and it's finding that balance and just riding right there, and it's really hard to do that over the entire season.
If you think that sounds difficult, well, that's because it is. Although as a former college athlete myself, I had to accept the challenge from the guys at RFK.
Everything in. Hey!
There we go.
That's pinnable. Pretty much.
Okay.
Get that a little higher.
Yeah.
That's off the ground.
While I didn't get the true full speed experience, it might be best for me to stick to my day job. Might have a future in 10 years.
It's a question we ask every single week during the NASCAR season. Who's going to win? But hey, we're taking it a step further and giving you big predictions in advance for some of the biggest races this season. Who wins what? We'll answer it next on Countdown to Daytona. The only way to watch the Daytona 500 at this point is on Fox. For the 10th consecutive year, the Great American Race is sold out. Now, tickets are available for other events during Speed Weeks, including the duels, along with the truck and the Xfinity Series races. For tickets to any NASCAR event, just head over to NASCAR.com.
We got one last order of business. We're not going to give a prediction for the Daytona 500 itself, but more a wide horizon, a full season prediction. We call this Who Wins What. Larry, we're going to start things off with you. What's your big prediction for this season?
The winningest active driver we have, Kyle Busch, 63 wins, 2 Cup Series championships. Last year was his 20th season, did not find victory lane. His first year with RCR, 3 wins early in the season. Kyle Busch makes it back to victory lane in 2025.
He certainly would be happy with that. I think RCR would too.
Absolutely. And I know it's weird, talking about a 35-year-old and associating that with the word rookie, but SVG, it's a 2-horse race. We talked about it earlier. I think he's going to be the rookie of the year. He's going into good equipment, like you mentioned earlier, Larry, being with Trackhouse Racing. He came into the Cup Series hot, winning that Chicago Street Race in 2023. Solid run the Xfinity Series last year. I think he's going to come out and really continue to make a statement as, a guy that can get it done no matter what car he's in.
All the road course races we have, I think he'll find victory lane.
All right, I'm going with Ford Performance Racing. We know over the last 2 seasons they've kind of gotten out to some slow starts. They had some changes with that dark horse Mustang last season, but I think they're going to get everything under wraps to start this season. Despite winning the championship the past 2 years, I think they get out to a fast start this season. You think about RFK, Team Penske, and even Front Row Motorsports. There's a lot of guys in that camp that could win early.
Yeah, they went through some huge growing pains with that Ford Mustang dark horse. No rule changes, no body changes. I think they pick up right where they left off last year.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us on Countdown to Daytona. Be sure to check us out for Countdown to Daytona live from the track on February 16th. Be sure to check your local listings for Carla Metz, Gabe McDonald, Larry McReynolds. We appreciate you watching, and we'll see you at the Great American Race.